You're lying on the couch, nothing to scroll, nothing to do, and within 90 seconds, something inside you starts to itch. Your leg bounces, your mind drifts to your phone. You feel an urge that has no name, but it has a single demand. Do something. Anything. The real answer for why this happens is far stranger than boredom. Your brain isn't bored, your brain is in pain. For most of your life, you've been told boredom is a mood, a dull afternoon, a lack of stimulation. But neuroscientists who study idle minds have found something unsettling. The brain at rest doesn't go quiet. It goes loud. It activates a network of regions called the default mode network, and this network doesn't relax you. It interrogates you. It asks where you stand, what you're missing, what could go wrong. Stillness, to your brain, looks a lot like danger. Why would emptiness feel like danger? You have to go back, not centuries, hundreds of thousands of years, back to a body standing in tall grass, scanning a horizon for movement, back to a mind that had exactly one job above all others: stay alive long enough to pass on its genes. And here's the twist. In that world, doing nothing was never actually nothing. Anthropologists who study surviving hunter-gatherer societies have repeatedly found the same pattern. Long stretches of apparent idleness were never truly idle. The body looked still. The mind did not. While resting in camp, early humans were tracking weather changes, listening for predators, remembering which plants ripened where, replaying social tensions within the group. Researcher Polly Wiesner, who spent years studying the Yuhuansi people of the Kalahari, documented how so-called downtime was filled with storytelling, gossip, and social calibration, activities that look relaxed from the outside but are cognitively expensive on the inside. Your ancestors were never actually doing nothing. They were doing survival math, quietly, in the background. Picture it directly. A small group sits around a fire as the sky turns orange. Nobody is hunting. Nobody is gathering. From a modern lens, this is downtime, the ancient equivalent of a lazy Sunday. But Wiesner's recordings of campfire conversation showed something different happening underneath the surface. Roughly a third of evening talk was devoted to gossip, and gossip wasn't idle chatter. It was a constant low-grade audit of the social map. Who could be trusted? Who broke an agreement? Who was generous and who wasn't? In a small band where your survival depended entirely on the goodwill of the people around you, tracking social standing wasn't a luxury. It was as essential as tracking the weather. The fire didn't represent rest. It represented a different kind of work, one your brain still remembers how to do even though the fire is gone. This is the piece modern life quietly deleted. Not the threats, the texture, the constant low hum of small things to monitor that gave the resting mind somewhere to point itself. Remove that texture and the monitoring system doesn't switch off. It searches. And when it searches an empty room, it finds nothing to grab onto except its own discomfort. So when you lie on the couch with an empty mind and empty hands, your brain doesn't recognize the situation. It has no category for true stillness. It assumes something is wrong. Either a threat is being missed or an opportunity is slipping by unnoticed. The itch you feel isn't a glitch. It's an alarm. A very old alarm, built for a world that no longer exists, going off inside a body that hasn't been told the war is over. Here's where it gets stranger. In 2014, a team of researchers led by psychologist Timothy Wilson ran an experiment that became infamous in psychology circles. They put people alone in a bare room. No phone, no book, no window, just a chair and their own thoughts. The only other object in the room was a button connected to a mild electric shock. Before the test, almost every participant said they would rather sit quietly than shock themselves. Some even paid money in an earlier phase of the study to avoid being shocked at all. But given 15 minutes alone with nothing but their thoughts, a striking number of people pressed the button anyway. Some pressed it more than once. One participant pressed it 190 times in a single session. Men did it more than women, but the pattern held across both. People would rather feel pain than feel nothing at all. Read that again. People chose self-inflicted discomfort over undirected stillness, not because they enjoyed pain, because pain was at least a signal, a piece of information their nervous system could process and respond to. An empty room offered nothing to respond to, and that absence was harder to sit with than a shock. Why? Because stillness isn't neutral to a survival machine. Thank you.